ShoWTimE versus Solar, the fight to make it into the top 3. I said a while back that ShoWTimE for me was the favorite if he came out over Zound, and he did, and he's made it all the way here now. The favorite to come through this section of the bracket, and he made it all the way here to play against Solar now. I would say whoever wins this would be a favorite in the lower bracket finals as well against Cham. I know Cham beat Solar to make it to the winner bracket final in the first place, but I would have to imagine that Solar is looking for revenge, and ShoWTimE, he's very good at PvZ lately. His PvZ's been looking absolutely stellar, which would probably get you excited for this series right now with the top right blue Protoss player, ShoWTimE. Looking to see what he can bring to the table as he takes on the red Zerg in the bottom left-hand corner. This is Solar. Map 1 of this best of 5 series. Okay. We start on pillars. Map order is kind of fun, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's I'm gonna show it to you guys. So pillars, map 1, Romanticide map 2, Lightshade map 3, Oxide map 4, and Jagannatha map 5. I think Romanticide will be a fun one to see what some late game looks like between these two. Pillars is going to be an interesting one to see if ShoWTimE already wants to open Stargate. We've been seeing a lot of Stargate from him lately. It's also an interesting one to see if Solar wants to try some Queen Walk, some just aggression in general to shut down what ShoWTimE is up to. A lot of that may come down to what ShoWTimE decides to open up with anyway, right? If ShoWTimE opens Stargate, maybe Solar does bring us, queens across the map and stuff like that. If ShoWTimE opens Twilight, then Solar maybe doesn't get as much of a decision on that. Maybe it tries to counterattack after an Adept opener or something like that. Let's get this up and running. Just going to be seeing our Overlord making its way toward the upper right side. Couple of Queens, feelings coming up. Cybercore about to finish from ShoWTimE in the main, in the natural expansion here. There's the Stargate getting going from ShoWTimE up in the main base. Getting that ready to go. There's a couple of lings from Solar out through the bottom. Just gonna see the probe running around in the hatchery. And dropping in on the bottom side of the map, so really everything kind of standard so far. We're waiting to see what comes from the Stargate. Obviously, the thing that we saw from ShoWTimE the other day in his PvZ was really a good variety of Stargate openers, right? From double Stargate Void to a Resonating Glaives follow-up to just, pure Oracles into more regular stuff as well. We've seen just so many different ways of playing that kind of stuff, basically. Stalker forces the OV up to the top side. Void Ray is going to be done in just a few moments. Gateway coming down as part of this wall off as our Ling speed about to complete. The Solar finishing up the Ling speed is about to build up a Spore Crawler as well. Queen, drones, all setting up down this bottom left side, and a few Lings making their way toward the upper side of the map. Void gets there and turns the Ling around already. One Ling continuing around the upper right side then. Ling's moving around. Twilight Council in the main base. We do see 2 more gateways building in the main as well. It's getting that up and running. Here comes ShoWTimE with the Oracle. With the Twilight follow-up, so really is just going into the Void Ray, the Vision Oracle, and then Glaives and a whole bunch of those Adepts. That can be also deadly, but so at the moment, ShoWTimE is going to be up against the Roach Roar, so Solar will be fairly well prepared to deal with this here. There's a second Void Ray already building, so he'll go double Void as he heads into the Resonating Claves. And these Lings being picked away at, not finding any openings, just trying to pick up information as they move around. And it's here to push the Oracle back away up through the top. We do see the rest of the Lings setting up as well. We're going to be seeing an Adept already there and picking off one of them. And Stalker and the Warlock going to pick away at the rest of these Lings too. Voids are going to come out. It's actually kind of an interesting one because now you see double Void Ray. And it's like, oh wow, double Void Ray. That's something which you kind of look at and you're like, well, do I need to just prepare against Voids, or well, what am I preparing for here? He does seem to have a good idea, Solar, because he is building a whole chunk of roaches. I feel like the Adepts are pretty well hidden, though. Why is that a slow warping? In what world is that a slow warping? It's off this pylon and that's not connected to the Nexus? Hello? That seems ridiculous. How is that a slow warping? I have no idea. Alright, well, here come the Adepts. Like I say, Solar's pretty well prepared. He's been building a whole bunch of roaches, but at the same time, ShoWTimE has a good work account, so it's not essential that the Adepts do a ton of damage because they've already forced a lot of units out, so it really is about if you can't find the right moment to attack, just keep these Adepts alive and look to utilize them later in the game. The only way to success here does not necessarily involve forcing your way into a mineral line to try and deal drone damage, if that's just going to lead to you losing all the Adepts without much gains. Forge is going to be done soon. We do have extra gates setting up on the main base. And our Blink's about halfway done, and just seeing a couple of extra batteries of ShoWTimE out up to the 12 o'clock position. The Adepts continue to make their way around the right. We do have Void Rays putting some damage out, Roach is taking some hits, and a hatchery on the 4th base as well. And it's going to get pretty much just nailed by the Void Rays. So Void Rays firing up a storm there, hatchery taking hits. Robot Base just past the halfway marker in the natural expansion. The Oracle of ShoWTimE will come down toward the main base. 11 Mutalisks, 12 Mutalisks in production, melee upgrade, +1 flyer attacks, all of this setting up. As you do see some extra Stalkers, the Blink about to be done, and the +1 attack coming in. ShoWTimE's army just setting up on the top side, and the Roaches can start making their way out across to the upper side. I think you see a couple of Voids going to go for an Overseer. Now Roach moving up to the top side as Depths and Sentries are there pretty quickly to deal with him. Mutas are pushed away, and well, now just going to be seeing a couple more Mutas coming over to the far right. Phoenix and a couple of Void Rays over there to hang around in the main base. Muta's still moving around and just going to see where they can get to. I'm going to dive in. That's a Phoenix that's going to get very narrowly killed off. A Void Ray goes down. A second Void Ray goes down. Now it's going to be another couple of Stalkers being picked away at here. More Mutas still on the way out as they actually do turn around, and a whole bunch of these Stalkers continue to drop down dead. Lings and Roaches of Solar will make their way toward the upper side of the map. Mutas from Solar are going to make their way into the main base. So they're going to go for the main base mineral line here. Actually catches a disruptor out the front, so you already see kind of a nice little catch there. Solar doesn't have anything but Ling Roach, though. I mean, obviously with the Mutas, he's in the main base, but without anything but Ling Roach, you're kind of not really meant to be winning a lot of these fights. It was nice that he grabbed the first disruptor so easily. That really does go a long way to helping. As the Stalkers just blink in. Not sure why the Mutas are so committed. The Stalkers just blink in, and a bunch of Mutas already dropping down dead. Altogether, I think I'm a bit worried for Solar because he just doesn't really feel like he's doing much with the Mutas, and then if you're not doing much with these Mutas, where is this game going for you, right? It's not that he's not just doing much with them, it's that he's losing mutas as well, right? And the Phoenix count is getting there. The units are just constantly putting damage at me. How many mutas are going down at this stage? 15 mutas have died. And what's ShoWTime even lost? Well, a couple Phoenix, a couple Voids, 4 probes. Really, the mutas have just not been valuable, and yet we're still building more of them. Now, of course, it is possible you get to a certain muta count, and at one point they just snowball out of control if you take one bad fight as ShoWTime, but right now he's not on the way to taking a bad fight at all. And right now he's continuing to just really dominate this Mutalist war, and using a Disruptor to force away the ground army so he can blink forward more aggressively into the mutas. Not sure about that blink. That really was like really on top of roaches and lings. It's not quite so sure about that one, but otherwise still keeping this push back and still keeping Solar at bay. Of course, Solar's taking a lot of bases behind this, so ShoWTime just has to accept that he's trading more efficiently so he can just work off of a lower base count for now. No reason to get stressed out about it. It's just the way that this matchup works when your opponent plays this composition. So ShoWTime just has to accept that and not get too ahead of himself when it comes to trying to take a 4th base. This Observer's going to outrun the Overseer, so it will stay alive, at least for the moment. As mutas do find their way into the main base, and for the first time, maybe had an opportunity there, although they don't get much done. This one pylon powering 5 gates, by the way, so that's a problem for later in the game. And ShoWTime's going to actually expand to the left, and he's going to expand down on this low ground base. I think if I had to make an attempt at reasoning this, let's hold that thought, because the mutas are going to show up, and they're going to get on top of the Phoenix pretty quickly. Stalker's still here in good numbers. The Roaches are not exactly in crazy numbers either, and yeah, 68 new lings on the way. That's just how much you lost here as Solar. Just so many units going down. The 4th survives. I think you take this base because it makes it more difficult for the mutas. If you take this base, mutas can go from here to here very easily. Whereas if you take this base, the mutas don't really have a good rotation, or as good of a rotation in comparison as extra Stalkers warping in. I mean, the Prism is going to get shot down pretty much immediately here. ShoWTime just pulled the trigger, and not sure if it was really the right moment. Ling Roach is going to clean this up, and that's just going to end the game. Wow. Yeah, I really felt ShoWTime was doing well against this, but I guess the one thing we didn't really look at was the fact that he wasn't making any progress when it came to his army. Let's kick this off and get this started up. As we will have in the bottom right-hand side, the blue Zerg player. This is Solar, taking the 1-0 lead of the best of 5. I think ShoWTime just got a little bit impatient there, slash maybe he just realized that he needed to do something to slow down a base, but he was just getting his own 4th base up. I don't know if he couldn't have just slowed it down and started to sub into Archons and stuff. Not a 100% sure about that. Alright, so game number 2 as we get this underway. Yeah, I do just think it was just pure Stalkers, right? And pure Stalkers alone just doesn't quite win you games, and maybe ShoWTime was just accepting of that a little bit earlier than we were. Sniper core is about halfway done. We do have the Overlord of Solar making its way to the upper left-hand side. Adapt chrono boosting out of the gateway. The Overlord of Solar to the top side. Stargate is building from ShoWTimE in the main base. Cycling speed already coming up here from Solar as well as we just get that ready to go. Natural on the natural. Probe coming down. And that's set up in the next few moments. Let's get ourselves into game 2 of this. Stargate is going to be done in the next couple of minutes here. Probe's on the way out. Wolfgate's about to be halfway done, and let's see what ShoWTimE builds this time. This could be, I mean, if you want to change it up, obviously this is not so much of a Glaives map as it is a double Stargate, more Void Ray kind of map, so that could change up the entirety of how this game plays out, of how Solar approaches the game as well, so a lot to potentially watch out for here in the next few minutes. Single stalk, just poking and prodding now. Ovi bringing it down low on HP. The Void Ray going to show up and is going to come through to finish the Overlord off. So Overlord goes down. Oracle building. Nexus of ShoWTimE builds on the third base location, so he gets that started up. Now there's a couple of Lings just going to make their way back down the bottom, and the Queens going to fall back across to the natural expansion. So bringing those back over there. Drones coming through. Stargate. Second one is building from ShoWTimE in the main base. And again, just Lings making their way around the top of the map here at the moment. One Ling getting picked away at. Oracle of ShoWTimE all the way down to the south, and just going to be seeing the Oracle about to make a play in toward the main. Bertrand already starting on the third base. Second Stargate coming through. Going to be finishing shortly. The Oracle gets kept back just a little bit as we see creep spread pushing forward up through to the top. This Oracle just is keeping the presence, so we are going to see all of our Void Rays, and we do wait to see what Solar's response to this is going to be. Right now he's just droning like a madman, so feels as though it's just going to be a high economy game from Solar, at least not super aggressive initially. We'll see what he can turn it into though. We'll see what he wants to do eventually with all of this. Taking a few hits. There's our Hydra Den starting in the back of the natural and the +1 missile upgrade. On our Evolution Chamber as well, a few extra drones still making their way along. And the Twilight Council is about to finish up from ShoWTimE. As again, these couple of extra voids just still moving through. Lings are out and around on the right, and they're just gonna, well, for a moment, look to go toward those rocks. Quite a few Lings of Solar being picked away at there as the voids continue to come through. Lings being taken down. 11 more Hydras on the way up. Once again, set up with that as our Void Rays continue around to the right. And a few Queens here just going to be able to push this Void Ray back towards the center of the map as well. The Lone Adept comes through to kill the Zergling off. So the Zergling does get cleaned out there. The Storm is already on the way through on the Temple Archive with a Lurker Den to follow up, a Evolution Chamber as well. And just seeing our Side Storm +1 attack charge, all of this coming through with our Void Rays. Over around on the right, Hydras are going to get here to keep the Void Rays pinned back over to the far right side. Oracle is moving around, Storm +1, charge. All the good stuff showing up at the moment as the Void Rays get there and pick off an Extractor. And just seeing our Storm still coming through from ShoWTimE then, as this game really does just develop into later and later stage. It's going to get into Lurkers and all sorts ShoWTimE really showed us in a lot of stages of this tournament how good he is defensively against a lot of these lurker timings and stuff. He did great against Vanya. It was just yesterday, I believe, when he played against Vanya and looked really amazing. He played a lot of longer games against Armani. If you remember back on the group stage, he was down 0-2 against Armani and turned it around in what was kind of a really awesome series. So just in general, his PvZ again has looked really solid throughout the tournament. By the way, I don't know why it says 1-0 for ShoWTimE there. I feel like I've just swapped the players around. I've hit the wrong button at some point, so apologies for that. It is still up 1-0 right now, guys. I don't know what the scoreboard was saying that for. I think I probably just flipped the scoreboard. If you press Control X, it flips. I probably just misclicked. Well, we do have the army of Solar still coming through. Gonna jump on a set of rocks here, and again, as Seismic Spines finishes, this is where Solar wants to start really being aggressive. The problem is he's going to be going up against carriers and so on. So, first carrier's on the way. That's why Solar wants to be aggressive now, to start trying to slow this down a little bit. And the Oracle drops down to Revelation. And one of the Lurkers dies as the Voiders came forward there. Honestly, as the first carriers pop out, I always feel like these scenarios are where ShoWTimE just wants to be in Solar. Can you find a way to break through this as carriers arrive? Like, I just really don't think so. I think this is where you need to start preparing with Aspire, and preparing with a later game set of units that can actually fight against carriers. Because again, what you have on the map right now is just not it. Zealots are going to counter, and what that does is it pulls this entire army back, or an extremely big chunk of this army back, and that means you really aren't able to focus everything you want to on this initial push forward as well. As our first carriers joining the fray. 7 drones dead over here. Hydra's taking a little while to start fighting. Admittedly, this was well handled by Solar, but there's a Prism still down on the bottom side from ShoWTimE, so he will just warp in more Zealots, and he will maintain this kind of set of units kind of running in to kind of keep on, making this a problem. As here we go, big fight breaks out. Storm's coming in on the Queens on the front line. The Lurks are just not really holding their own at all, and ShoWTimE just pushes into this with extreme ease. And Solar gets pushed back and loses a lot in the process. New Lurker dead on the way of all things from Solar. Maybe afraid that this one dies out on the open third base area. Solar needs to get a few more workers up. I know he just lost a few, but ShoWTimE's just sprung this into his favor because of this attack over here that forced drones away and killed a few of them. So ShoWTimE's starting to mine a little bit more, and obviously if you look at resources lost, this is always going to be ShoWTimE trading better than Solar is. Is Solar just going to do the exact same variation of this attack the second time around? It's pretty much the exact same play. You're just going to attempt to slowly get in position here with Lurkers, etc. But this time around, there's going to be even more carriers. It's just going to be the same from Solar versus an even better army of ShoWTimE, and that's why he's probably not going to be making very much progress here in the next few moments. Lurkers firing away. So you fight a little bit. Lurker's going to move forward a little bit as well. Trying to get in on top of this. Trying to keep on pushing through. So as Lurkers gets burrowed up, a lot of these Zealots start to go down very quickly. And you see the Storms coming down across the board. Hydras and Queens trying to fight against this. Parasitic Bomb picking away at these carriers. I mean, it just doesn't make a difference. This army is just way too good for ShoWTimE. He wasted no time at all teching up. And he's going to tie the series 1-1 against Solar. In number 3 of the series, we're tied up 1-1 in this best of 5. In the top left of Lightshade, our blue Protoss player is ShoWTimE. Taking on the bottom right, Red Zerg. Solar. So we get this one up and ready to begin. So you get into this third map. We have light shades. It's one of the ones where I imagine you can actually probably do pretty well as a solar to be able to get aggressive if you want to. If you want to walk queens across, this is a shorter rush distance, so those are the kind of things you have to keep in mind when you play this map as the Protoss player, that those kind of builds of the Zerg are definitely ones that can crop up quite frequently here on a map like this. So definitely, definitely something to watch out for. Sure, as we just have the Overlord making its way up to the top side, the few lings out the front, making their way around a little bit as well. Hatchery onto the natural, and that probe will scout on down to see what's going on as we just get our way, make our way into a Twilight Council. And that's ready to go. So far, so good. So we'll see another gateway at the frontier robotics facility of ShoWTimE in at the main base, and just OV coming around this top side as well. It's gonna be a straight up link flood drone drill from ShoWTimE from Solar to try and win this. ShoWTimE is bringing a probe forward, so he's definitely got an inclination of what's going on here. Link's gonna go in after the Stalker. And now he's going to bring the drones through, and there is going to be no gaps. So the Stalker is going to go down. The drones cannot make it in, so the drones just start moving back home already. Honestly, this gateway, though, is kind of late, it feels like. So maybe that was going to be a weak point, but Solar just types out game, and ShoWTimE is going to win it. And game number 3 is not really too excited. As in the bottom left-hand side, we do have taking the lead of the series with the defense. It is ShoWTimE. Up against the blue Zerg in the top right-hand side, Solar. As we get this ready to go. Honestly, this Link Flood drone pull, it works so well in the moment if your opponent has no idea about it, but I feel like it's very quickly going to disappear because people are just starting to pull a probe preemptively. All you have to do is wall off and it's just completely shut down. Because it hits later, because you go on a few more drones and then you pull drones. It hits later and it's more committed. It's just, yeah, if you don't get in, it's really rough. Moving around on the upper right, cybernetics core from ShoWTimE building in the natural, and hatchery off over to the left hand side here from Solar as the probe is going to get chased away by this drone. Now, don't get me wrong, the link for the drone pull can work. We've seen it be like ridiculously good. It just feels like the meta is already developing away from it. It feels like we're already making progress away from that setup. Well, drone's going to come up to the top side. As Lings chase the probe away out down the south. Looks like with speed coming up. Couple of queens going to be finishing soon. And the Stargate just building on the main base. Again, that up and running. As you have the Stalker. Chrono boosting out of the gateway. Cybercore going to get the Warp Gate rolling as well. Probe coming around and just going to be moving through. It's going to be off to the side. Getting back home. I'm just gotten the Void Ray already on the way up here from ShoWTimE to get in that building. Second speed is about to complete, so getting that finished up. And the Lings out onto the map. So Void Ray is going to be finishing, the Warp Gate coming through. Going to be again done in just a few moments time, and the Oracle just starting to chrono boost out as our Void Ray to take down the Overlord nice and quickly. So again, so far kind of as expected. Oxide, one of the smaller maps again. So we're going to see double Stargate Void. Honestly, ShoWTimE really seems as though he was one of the later players to really adopt that build and that style, but now I actually think we're starting to see now we're starting to see ShoWTimE really being one of the players to really just say, you know what, if it's this good, let's just do it. And just sort of doing the double Stargate stuff. Stasis Ward is going to finish up. A drone gets caught in that stasis. As the Rotron and a couple of extractors will continue to build as well. A lot of Lings from Solar heading down to the bottom side of the map. As the Void Ray gets 1, 2, now 3 Lings already. So a few Lings going down. Pretty successful start as our Void Ray is on the way up. And Solar just gonna get I wonder what Solar actually plays, because obviously this is the map kind of similar to Pillars of Gold. He could maybe play kind of like a Roach Ling Feudalist style once again. Something similar to what we saw earlier. That's absolutely on the cards here. It's absolutely a possibility. So there's a fairly realistic chance of seeing that again as the Oracle will come in for the revelation onto the Queens. Things getting picked away out. Plenty of Roaches just on the way up to start at least, and there's more Queens still being made. It feels like Solar's gonna go for something aggressive, right? He is taking one more extractor, mind you. 55 drones. Roach Queen. Okay, now he starts one more drone. Queen start a pull. Are we going across the map, or are we just... What's the plan? I think we're gonna go across the map, right? I know he's just pulling the Queens to get ready to defend over here, but we're still 55, 56 workers. It looks like he'll just defend for the moment as he cleans up the rocks. You gotta... There's gotta be something of a plan. Voids are gonna run into the Queens here. Revelation drops down on the other side, keeping track of this, and here we go. Queens are gonna start their walk across down to the bottom side, so starting to push on down to the bottom. Ravager's going to be finishing moving in a few moments as you have the Void Rays on the left. Are going to go picking away through the Queens. Queens are kind of holding each other up, right? Everything's blocked in this choke point, so without being able to push on through, having some trouble. Roach is still coming in. Our army of Solar continuing down to the bottom side. A couple of extra Ravagers going to be morphing and just going to be seeing a few Zealots off to the right. All of this setting up at the moment as our Queens continue to push. Nice Stasis Ward. Gonna catch a few Lings already. Corrosive Bile's gonna clean out a cannon and a couple more Zealots. As other Zealots are gonna finish up here and continue to work their way through those Zerglings. There's a lot of Zerg on top of this third base. Solar is really just finding ShoWTimE without the defense he needs. Corrosive Biles are striking too. There's not enough batteries here. And these Voids just can't fight this Queen count without the batteries. Charge is about to be done. And the Zealots make a difference. They get on top of the Queens and start to clean them out. That's going to be the necessity. A super battery is going to pop, so there's one battery to try and save the day. And a couple of piles going onto the battery already. One more Void Ray already falling. Extra Zealots will warp in wherever possible. But the Queen count is holding strong. And it kind of feels as though Solar just has what he needs. The numbers to make this attack work as Ling Roach Ravage continues to stream on into this. ShoWTimE does not have the necessary defenses. And Solar is going to take this to a game number 4. Alright, so Jagannatha going to be our final map of the series. It's 2-2 tied up, and we get this ready to begin. With Jagannatha on the board, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Solar to do something like what he just did. Something like a Queen Walk does not work as well here if ShoWTimE wants to build the Voids again. Something like, you know, the Drop Lord push across the map could be a way for this to go. Next, setting up, Cybercore getting ready. We do have our Overlord of Solar making its way up through to the top side. As we get this ready to go, hatchery down on the bottom. And yeah, Overlord having a look to see what's going on. Stargate coming through, and just going to be no surprise, I don't think, at this point to see a Stargate again. Now, the question will be, do you go for the Void Rays again? And if he does, what does Solar do about it? Because again, Solar loves to just end it in the mid game, and if you just let it go to that later stage, we saw on Romanticide that doesn't end well at all. Over on the right, as you do see a gateway to finish the wall off, and the Oracle is coming up to completion in just a moment or so. Warp Gate's going to be done in a couple of moments, and the Adept is going to push the Ling back away. So Oracle to start us off, and it's going to be the second Oracle as well, so maybe just an Oracle focus game into something that isn't revolving around that Sky Toss composition, which I like, you know, a good way to change it up, especially going into a game 5, and especially when Solar seems to have a good way of dealing with the Void Ray style figured out. Yes, it's great if you can get that Void Ray style into the late game, but if you die in the early mid game, it doesn't really matter. He's gonna put some damage out. Oracle gets pushed away. Ling's trying to get through, but the sentries are going to block the most of them. One Ling gets up into the main and sees the Twilight Forge follow-up, so you already get a bit of information here as Solar, right? You get the read that this is going to be not going to be more Stargate focused, just the two Oracles, and that's it. That's actually good information to have, because you'll obviously get a good read on when the Twilight Council is going to be done and when Blink or Charge could be underway. And obviously, there is kind of the possibility of either or at the moment. You can go Blink and +1 here, you can play Charge and into Archon Immortal as well. It's going to be the Blink +1 combination from ShoWTimE. I'll give him, you know, when Blinking +1 finishes, it's a pretty nice timing you can usually use to take across the map and to try and get something done. Four oracles on the bottom side, trying to see what they can do. Think about halfway done, +1 attack coming in, robot facilities halfway through. Obviously, Solar just having to play against a bit of a different style to what we've seen ShoWTimE bring to the table before now. The Oracle is into the main, but means that pretty quickly to deflect those Oracles. They get turned back up to the top side pretty much right away. It's getting turned around over there. Hydra Den down on the bottom, getting set up. In the back of this third base. Skulkers will grab the Overseer kill, so Overseer goes down, and everything else here from ShoWTimE back out to the front. The two Oracles will go down to the front lines, and just looking to keep up the pressure at the moment. A lot of gateways across the left. Again, the Lurker Den and the Hive on the way from Solar in the main base. It's a lot of building up as we do see the Oracles continue to make their way across to the left side. Oh, Disruptor's on the way out. ShoWTimE. Let's follow up here. Disruptor's to help against the Lurkers initially, so we'll see how well that goes. The rest of this from ShoWTimE pulling back up the top side. Revelation down on a bit of this road shroud. Keeping track quite nicely. I do like where it's putting ShoWTimE, right? I feel like ShoWTimE is getting into a position where he should have, like, the right kind of army to fight as well. He's actually going to stay aggressive, by the way. As the Prism brings these two Disruptors across, he's actually going to try and make some fights happen. You know, Lurkers aren't really ready yet. There's not actually Hydras on the map to morph in Lurkers even, so it's a nice little timing from ShoWTimE as he moves down the bottom. The Ling Roach Ravager, well, gets hit by the first Disruptor, sped up through this speedy zone, helps to close the distance. Little encounter attack. Warloff is looking good for the moment at least, so something there. There's a couple more files. Stalkers dodge to the side. Hydra goes down. Our first four Lurkers are on the way, but ShoWTimE's already moving through aggressively. Going to use the Disruptor as a zoning tool once again, and that's a dead fourth base. ShoWTimE down the bottom side of the map now. If Solo can just get to the few Lurkers, maybe he can stabilize on the position, but the force fields are still really good, and the Stalker count is putting in work. There are the Lurkers burrowing up. Observer? Well, there's a Revelation available, so you don't actually need an Observer just yet. He's going to blink to the right. The Blinding Cloud going to put some serious damage out. Another Disruptor shot will find just one Roach. No Disruptors out down to the Lurkers just yet. The Ling's still on the other side, by the way. They take down the Stalkers so they can have access to a mineral line, but more Stalkers will warp in defensively. Now blinking up to the high ground, we'll find two of the Lurkers, so that's actually nice. Cancels another one. ShoWTimE just moving us around different directions, and that's helping out quite a bit. The Viper's not able to get into play. They would love to do something like abducting the Disruptors. They abduct the Disruptors here, and there's a lot of benefits to gain from that as ShoWTimE has money to spend. He's missed a couple warp-in cycles, it seems, with that much money in the bank. He blinks forward here, looking to just try and close this game out right now with the aggressive blinks. Here come the Vipers looking for the abducts. He gets one of the abducts. There's not enough units left here from Solar. Maybe not. The Stalker count is looking good, still hanging around. One Lurker on Burrows pushes further forward. More Stalkers reinforced and blink to the left side. Disruptor shot to the right. ShoWTimE has forced drones off the line. Solid supply is dropping. It looks to me like ShoWTimE probably has this game in the bag as the Stalker count is just too high. It is not being denied. More Stalkers warping in, and game is called. Our final Korean has fallen, and ShoWTimE will win this series 3-2 and will get himself into the top 3 of the tournament. His best OSC Championship run ever continues here as he moves into top 3 to play against Cham for the chance to play against Clem in the grand final.